Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Breaking Through the Glass Ceilings. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. This podcast is a special edition produced by B. Waters Productions. On this episode, you're going to hear my conversation with former NFL All-Pro punter Marquette King. Mr. King and I had a great conversation about being one of few black punters in the NFL, as well as what it means to him as far as he having an impact on this next generation and what he's been up to and what's next. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's my conversation with Marquette King. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the line today, I got the one, the only Marquette King. I call him one of the coolest punters to ever play in the National Football League. Mr. King, what's up, bro? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. I appreciate you for inviting me, man.
Nah, man, I appreciate you, taking the time out your busy schedule. So, let's get started. First and foremost, we're in the midst of a pandemic, actually two of them. How are you feeling? Like with everything going on, how are you feeling?
Well, I always try to find the light in everything, so I just try to find all the fun stuff to do. So I don't know, I just get into like wine tasting, I get into making music, I get into like just maybe going on a hike. So I just find all the other fun stuff to do besides just stay indoors all the time.
Okay, what kind of music you be making?
I made house, EDM, dance, and a little bit of hip hop.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to check that out when you put it out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I see. I guess I see you got the drum set. What kind of set you got?
I think it's Pearl. Is it Pearl?
Yeah. Yep. I see the
Yeah.
that sunburst tone, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Come
yeah,
on
that's
now.
tight.
I ain't as good as you though. I ain't as good as you. I still need practice. I don't know if the snare sound right. You might got to come over here and tune it for me.
All right. All right. Yeah, we'll definitely have to, once all this is over. So I was, obviously doing my research, man. And one of the things I learned was that you said that you started really playing football in high school, in the middle of high school. What was it that made you decide like this is something that you wanted to do?
It just looked fun. It looked cool. I like seeing the group of people in the shoulder pads and the helmet. Like it just looked super cool to me. So I just got into it.
Now I know you play wide receiver and punter. So how did you end up punting? And like how did that all come about as far as the positions?
I was just really bored, and when I was at the house, I would just keep kicking the football because like nobody could throw it to me there. So I was just in the backyard trying to kick it over the ditch, and I would just repetitively just keep trying to kick it over the ditch.
Okay. So I got a story, and I told my god brother that I was going to be interviewing you today. And one of the things, when I was about ninth grade, I told him, I said, man, I'm going to try out for the football team, and I'm going to kick. And him and his brother, my older god brother, decided to say, to tear me the other way. And Sammy, I'm putting him out there, looked at me and said, do you know what we do to kickers? You can't be kicking. So I'm like, okay. So I have to ask you this question. Were you ever teased about punting?
Oh, plenty of time. Plenty of times. At the same time, like I don't know, I just knew I was really good at it. And I also I just knew I didn't look like a punter, so it was all cool. It was cool.
Yeah. Did you have any like when you was in high school, any like memorable games that where you like changed the game? Because that's the thing, like obviously when you know football, you know how important a punter is. So did you have any games that stand out where you kind of put your team in a position to win the game?
Man, I don't even know if I can think back that far. Like I don't know. My memory has been stored with so much brand new stuff. Like I can't even think back that far.
Nah, I definitely understand. I definitely understand. So you decided to go to HBCU. Was that a priority? Or like how did you decide which school you was going to go to?
Well, I worked out at Albany State at first with Coach Pittman before he even became my coach.
Mm-hmm.
but I kind of didn't have no choice because I mean I wasn't really doing my schoolwork like I was supposed to, and Fort Valley gave me a chance to just go there for a whole year and a half to prove that I'm there to do my schoolwork, and then I did everything I needed to do to get on the team, and then that's when it started.
Okay. Now, there you went as a wide receiver, if I'm not mistaken, and then your coach told you that they was gonna take away your scholarship if you wouldn't become a full time punter. Correct? And just make
Yep.
sure that the internet sometimes
Yeah.
miss up
Nah,
things.
they do. They
Yeah.
do.
What was your thought process like? Was it a hard decision, or did you immediately know that you would go right back to punting?
No, I wanted to be a receiver, but they were threatening to take my scholarship, so I kind of didn't have a choice. So I was like, if I'm gonna be a punter, then I'm gonna just dress up like a receiver that punts.
Okay. Did you ever get a
So
chance to get in the game and get as a wide receiver, like for a couple plays, or they just kept you punting?
no, I just run. I probably just run routes on air and stuff like I do now. Like even when I was in the XFL, I just ran on air.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, um, the draft comes up, and I know you wasn't drafted, but like, how nerve wracking was that night for you, or those days, I should say, night and days?
it was. It was a little interesting because I was told I was gonna get picked up that day, but not knowing when I would get picked up. So that was kind of cool. But when I got picked up, my phone rang 15 seconds after the actual draft went off, and it was from Oakland, and I'm like, "What is Oakland calling for?" And then
Mhm.
picked it up, and they told me it was from the Raiders. Then I called my agent, and I was like, "So is that an NFL team?" Because I'm not a big fan of sports like that. So I he told me, "Yeah, that's the NFL team." He started laughing, but he was like, "Yeah, they're in California." So I was like, "Okay." So I ran out the house, and I was like, "Yes."
Now, you coming from Georgia, what was that like? How did your family feel as far as that was concerned? That's a big change. And how did you feel about going to Cali?
I was just ready to go. Like I was ready to try something different.
Hmm.
I was just ready to try something different.
Yeah. Now you going to Oakland. Now, first of all, let me step back because you said about 15 seconds after the draft was over. Was there a little bit of disappointment that you wasn't drafted, or you was just happy for the opportunity?
I no, I was warned that free agents get called right after that. So
Oh,
I
okay.
knew it was people getting called after that. Yeah.
Got you. All right. Now you go to Oakland. What was that experience like? You going up there, and if I'm not mistaken, you replaced Shane Leckler. And you working with Sebastian Janikowski, and they always, kind of, let's be real, there are some kickers and punters you just know, and that's one thing about you instantly became that, which we'll get into. But there's some kickers and punters of teams that you just know, so it seems as if it may be harder to kind of get a spot there. But like, can you talk about that process and how you was able to get on the team?
Um, when I first got there, the only reason I heard of Janikowski is because everybody kept talking about him and the bar fights and stuff from back in the day. And then somebody like they just told me who they were after I got picked up by that team, and I was looking at YouTube videos like who they are, and they were like, man, these are the like basically the internet and everything was saying like those are the best kicker punter duo in the NFL. And I'm like, damn, how am I gonna get a job? So um, I knew my goal to go when I went there was to just. I was like, man, I might not have a chance, but I'm gonna at least go here and I'm gonna just learn as much as I can and just soak in everything I can. And but at the same time, I still went there with the mindset as if the Raiders are already my team. Like I claimed that so hard.
Yeah, man. Now you come into the league, and like I said, you made an impact. Did you realize the impact you had as far as the young black football players, or did you kind of realize that later?
I think I realized that later. I think I was just so into the moment and stuff. I wasn't really thinking about it, but now that I've had time to like just sit down and just sit back, and because when everything's happening for you like that, you get so many messages, you get all this, all that, and
Mm-hmm.
just sitting back and just seeing how many people have reached out to me in the past and even now still, um, I'm like, dang, I actually did a little something to make some kind of impact. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, now I watched this story where you talked about your dad watching football, and your first game was against the Dallas Cowboys. And I think one of the coolest things you said on the video was that you saw the star and like, wow, this is a team I grew up watching. Um, and then your first punt, the half, who's now the coach for the Raiders, John Gruden, calling it. Like, what was? I mean, obviously, hindsight's 2020, but were you? What was that feeling like? Your first punt is against the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, it was unreal. I I was instructed to not look in the stands, look at this crowd because then it'll probably create nerves. So it was the first thing I do when I walk out, look at the crowd. And I'm like, dang, it's a lot of people. This ain't Fort Valley State Stadium right here. And then I walk to the back of the end zone, get ready to punt. And then I just remember hearing this dude like, what, this a black punter, this a fake. And I was like, well, these folks stupid, boy. So they all kind of started laughing on the other side, and then it just killed all the jitters and the nerves. And I was like, okay, let's go. And
Mm-hmm.
it was around the time when my coach made me change up the way I punt. And it was almost like, it's almost like when you take a risk and you just do something, you just trust something that it's going to work out. It's almost like a feeling of just falling. So I just kind of like fell into exactly what I needed to do to execute what I needed to do to potentially try to win the job.
Okay. Now there was a play when you it was a 4th and 25, and you ran it for 26 yards. Like one, did the play did that was that a intentional fake? And two, how like how often did y'all practice that?
Uh, we didn't practice it much. I mean, it wasn't an intentional thing too. I was supposed to punt it, but when it skipped to me, it just threw me off because like when you're used to something happening the same way for a while, and something small kind of happens, it you just kind of think differently. So when it skipped, I was like, okay, do I still have time to kick this? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go. So I took off, and I couldn't have punted it because it would have got blocked. But as I was running, saw these linebackers, and I'm like, oh, NFL linebackers, okay, they slow, and I just kept running fast, and then I made sure I went past the 2nd yard marker, and then once I went past it, I mean, I just kind of blacked out. Like, dang, I really just did that.
Mhm. Now, did you like hope for more plays like that, more fakes?
I was hoping so. I'm like, man, I'm young, I'm athletic still, and man, like I'm only getting older, so y'all gotta only so much time to allow me to run. Might as
Hmm.
well. But we did run a intentional play. It was against the Broncos, but it's almost like they knew we were gonna run a play before we ran it. It was right after Derek Carr got sacked.
Okay. Yeah, it's unfortunate because
Yeah.
it would have been real cool to see you really change the game for punters. I mean, you did in a way, but just to see it more often. Um, can you talk
Yeah.
about just the dancing? Like I know that was always you, but bringing that into the NFL, and like I said, now we in the social media age, so you obviously there was a lot of times your videos, clips of you dancing was on social media. Can you talk about like that impact?
I mean, it was just me being me. Um, I believe in celebrating your small accomplishments, especially when you work on it all week, like from sun up to sundown. Like constantly walking around with a football, I feel like when I practice on pinning the ball inside the 5 yard line like that, I deserve to celebrate that because that's something I've been working. And when you finally see the results, and it's fun. I love to celebrate my little battles that I win.
Yeah. Now, you got any funny stories you remember that stick out from Oakland?
Man, they might be too censored for this.
Oh.
Man, that's gonna have to be like a a drunk bar story.
Okay, we had to talk about that off the air. Oh man. So, you were released from Oakland and you went to Denver. What was that like? What was that like? What was going on in your mind? When you found out that you was going to be released, especially considering you was an All Pro punter there.
Yeah, so it was really stressful because it's like reporters and stuff making rumors about why I got let go, probably because of my personality or so-called antics. And I was just trying to figure out what the problem was, and it was like I never got an answer. I don't know if it was money, I don't know if it was personality, but I do know one thing: if it was personality, all you got to do is sit me down. Like, and it sucked because when I first went there, the same day I went there to introduce myself to Gruden and the special teams coach Basakia, I had gifts for him, and I was in there happy to meet him and stuff. And next thing you know, I got called to get released, and I was like, "How? Like, how's this happening? I thought I had a good year last season. None of it made sense, so I just went on with it and ended up going to the Broncos. I thought the Broncos would be a good spot, a good landing spot because they got the altitude. And
Mm-hmm.
and I've been practicing. Coach from Broncos decides to change my whole kicking technique and kept swinging my leg around. It was like weird swing your leg around kick. The more I kept doing it, kept tearing my adductor. And man, I was just in a really dark place, man, because it's like, man, um, it was like I was just being forced to get out of my comfort zone and do something I'm not used to, and it just kept tearing me up physically and mentally. And I was actually really happy when I got let go because I wasn't, I didn't want to play football for a little bit just because
Mm-hmm.
everything just tore me down so bad. So
Man, yeah. Excuse me. It sucks that people always with it seemed like with us, and I said with us, they always try to put us in a box and they try to say, oh well, this is how they are and this is how they are, and as opposed to, like you said, just sitting down having a conversation, or they tell you they want you, but then they try to change your whole style up, especially when clearly it was working. They don't
yeah,
just everybody don't just become an all pro, let alone Pro Bowl, but let alone all pro. So
yeah.
um, you go to the XFL. What's that like? It makes this comeback, and a lot of people are excited. You get a chance. You talk about that experience.
Um, at the beginning, I did not want to do the XFL. I felt like statistically, I know I'm in the top 10 of the history of punters of just doing what I do. I know I'm in the top 10 with the best. And with the agent that I had at the time, I'm like, man, I don't belong in the XFL. Why? Like, what is it? And it's just like some people just don't think you can still do it, blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, what about so and so? They brought him in, and he was out for like 2 seasons. So why me? Like, why do I got to go through all this? And man, it was tough, man. I decided to go in the XFL and um, go there for a little bit, and the more I kept doing it, the more I started feeling my happiness of the game coming back, like even more than it was before. And I really enjoyed it. The fans in St. Louis were cool. The coaches, the staff, the players on St. Louis, they were so cool, and it made me see things a whole different way. Um, and still had the same work ethic, still punting like I did. Ended up being in the top of the XFL. Um, and still didn't get a call. So I don't know. It was, but I had fun. It brought joy. It brought my pride, not pride, but my passion back. So
Now it's owned by The Rock and Danny Garcia. Do you see yourself going back?
nope, I belong in the NFL. Like
Okay.
I think this whole country knows I belong in the NFL, and I don't know, I don't know what's going on, but like I said, if people would take the time to actually call and get to know somebody, they'll really know who the real person is instead of like I don't know, going off word of mouth or going off what you see off the internet. Like you can't never judge anybody from a distance if you've never met them before. And I've always lived by that.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever play? You play Madden, and you ever use yourself?
Of course, of course. The starting quarterback ain't getting no playing time over me.
I
Heck
like
yeah.
that. I like that. Now, real quick, when you was in St. Louis, I saw this video. You were going over to the fans' house barbecuing. How did that come about? Because that looked fun, and to me, that show who you are because everybody don't just do that. You know what I mean? And that's kind of show who you are. So, like, how did that come about?
Yeah. Man, I was just it's not much to do in St. Louis, so I'm out there just chilling, and then I hit my boy Taylor Russellino, the kicker, and Tanner Carew, the long snapper, and I was like, "Hey, let's go barbecue at somebody's house." Like we were walking back because I didn't bring my car to St. Louis. I would walk to the facility and walk back to the hotel, even when it was freezing cold. So it was probably
Wow.
I think it snowed the day before, and it was freezing cold. So I'm walking in the snow every day, and I was like, let's just do something fun. So we reached out to a fan, and he invited us over, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go buy the food, and then y'all just had a grill and stuff ready. Invite some friends, and we'll just all hang out, have wine, and eat barbecue. So I barbecued chicken for him and everything. It was fun. Got to know him, and it was super cool, man. That's something I definitely want to do, especially when I go to the league. It, whatever team I'm on, I want to just hang out with people and just, I don't know, just kick it with them.
Mm-hmm. That's a Southern hospitality, man. I lived in Connecticut, and you could tell, like
Yeah,
when at ESPN, when I worked at ESPN, you could tell who was from the South versus who was from the North because people from the South would always host the events. You know, they would always shout out to my boy Steve Morrison, who was like he called it on
yeah.
Instagram. The tag was the ghetto because he would always have like all the cookouts and stuff. Now, you can you talk about your relationship with Greg Coleman, the first black punter? I was to say, Greg Coleman, first black punter.
Man, Greg Coleman, that's my guy.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's my guy. That's my guy. I reached, I got connected to him through my coach, Coach Holmes. They used to both go to FAMU, and he gave me his number. And Greg Coleman would just talk to me when I was in my last year, or second to last year in college. And he told me he would come to my first game and just watch. And he actually came to the FAMU game. I didn't play my best game that first game, but the fact
Mm-hmm.
that he came, that was so cool. It was super cool. And that's when the birth of a super close relationship with him became, man. Like the fact that he actually told me he was gonna show up and he showed up out of the busy schedule that he had to come see me, made that whole relationship. And I definitely talk to him now and learned a lot from him. He's been a very like major part of my career, I think, as far as giving me advice and everything. If I feel a certain type of way, even during the game, sometime like when we scrimmaged against the Vikings, we kind of have our little hand signals. We talk back and forth. Like he'll be like, "Calm down," if I need to calm down. He's just a really good, super thankful for.
Man, that's awesome, man. Before I let you go, man, you let the people know where they can find you and how they can keep up.
You can find me at Marquette King. Marquette spelled like the college, and then King spelled like King. Um, got a couple of songs out, Spotify, Apple, under the same name, Marquette King. Check out some of them tunes and yeah, just vibe out.
All right, I'm gonna definitely check it out, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Marquette King. Make sure y'all give him a follow. If you haven't done so, make sure you check out his music. And we want to see him back in the NFL. That's where he belongs. The league needs him. We need people. We need black punters. We talk about diversity. Everywhere needs to be diverse, and that's a job for somebody. There's gonna be a kid out there who wants to punt. We need to stop putting people in the box. So, Marco, I appreciate you coming on, bro.
I appreciate you too.